no, I don't get your product. I don't understand it. It's like, what is this SaaS thing you speak of? I don't need cloud system. I'm fine with Excel. I just moved to Excel last year. That's how mind-blowing it is, right? A big enterprise, like, iya, gue baru ketemu Excel tahun lalu, and I think it's really cool. Like, dude. Nama saya Gani Lie, saya investment manager dari MDI Ventures. Sekarang tugas saya as an investment manager adalah oversee operations, investment operations di MDI Ventures dan sister funds kita. Sementara saya kerjanya di MDI Ventures dan Centauri Fund, dan itu salah satu fundnya MDI yang ditugaskan buat invest seluruh Asia Tenggara, Southeast Asia. Saya sudah di MDI selama 4 tahun, nearly 5 years now, and it's been one hell of a ride.
Alright, so anyway, gimana sih kalau misalnya lu bisa describe, gimana sih outlook tentang kondisi startup di Indonesia saat ini?
Outlook startup, I think is pretty good, lumayan bagus ya. Even though sekarang ekonomi lagi down karena COVID dan lain-lain juga, the tech industry sebenarnya lagi up. It's pretty good. Why? Karena menurut gue tuh adoption rate in this space has increased dramatically. Karena one, ya kita nggak bisa masuk kantor for B2B side. Kedua, for retail side nggak bisa jualan karena you're not getting any traffic at all, right? So, how the industry has developed historically or even before COVID is we've been developing these sort of mechanisms, innovations, and technologies in order for us to better deliver products to the consumers, right? The likes of Gojek is one of them. The likes of Tokopedia is another one that goes straight to consumers. But then on the B2B side, there's B2B commerce that's developing. There's also businesses that are targeting like mom and pop shops. So really building up the lower end of the market, which I think is quite crucial for the Indonesian market. So there's a lot of things there that have already been developed or are currently still in development, but are seeing increased adoption. Problemnya dulu, like before COVID, it was actually pretty difficult for these tech startups to acquire new users, right? Apalagi in the B2B space. B2B space meaning dari high level corporate yang besar-besar, multinationals, or even TELKOM, or the big banks, for example, sampai ke paling rendah, which is mom and pop stores, warung-warung. We have a number of startups yang kita sudah invest di space itu. Across the board, they all say pas Januari mereka coba nego atau dealing sama a few of the enterprise partners or a few of their UMKM partners, and they all said, no, I don't get your product. I don't understand it. It's like, what is this SaaS thing you speak of? I don't need cloud system. I'm fine with Excel. I just moved to Excel last year. That's how mind-blowing it is, right? A big enterprise, like, iya, gue baru ketemu Excel tahun lalu, and I think it's really cool. Like, dude, you're 10 years behind, right?
We're lagging behind, yeah.
Lagging behind, quite by a pretty big margin, right? So, that's what happened in January. Come February and March, tiba-tiba they all get phone calls, they all get emails saying like, hey, I think you were right. Let's have a call. I really want to see what your product can do, and how it can help my business. And this is across the entire industry, from industrial all the way up to retail, FMCG. Semuanya rata-rata, I need new products. I need a way to help my business not grow but to survive.
Yeah. Right. So it comes to my next question deh. Itu kan you mentioned a thing about mom and pop shop gitu kan ya. Apalagi kan kalau misalnya kita lihat sendiri di Indonesia, sebenarnya di Indonesia ini kan masih banyak kalau kita bicara soal startup, masih banyak yang UMKM sebenarnya ya. Itu yang mungkin yang lebih menengah ke ke bawah atau di small scale. Nah, kan you're working at MDI right now. Yang MDI itu sebenarnya katanya kan merupakan bagian dari BUMN, which is Telkom. Ya kan ya.
Yeah.
Gimana sih tadi kan sempat ngomongin juga about cloud system yang dimana baru mau jump from the old system, baru mau mulai masuk cloud in the beginning of January. Tapi sebenarnya apa sih metode yang mungkin lagi sedang mau digalakkan, mau dicanangkan gitu sama MDI sendiri untuk memodernisasi UMKM begitulah katakan.
Oke. Kalau dari kita sih, we do things from a more indirect perspective ya. Karena there's too many UMKM for us to help out, and regardless of how many funds we have, it's impossible for us to help everyone. So we think of a perspective like we put our mindset into the perspective of startup founder juga, scalability, right? And all startup founders, all tech innovations is all about how can I take $1 of resources and how can I use that dollar to help as many people as I can, or to help as many users as I can. And that's what we see with our funds. Previously with a $100 million fund, it was quite big, but on the whole grand scheme of things, it's actually biasa-biasa aja ya. So the way we see is, instead of directly helping the UMKM, why don't we help those who can help them, right? And that's where our funding comes from juga. If we invest $1 into a startup, that startup can possibly help 10 businesses. Those 10 businesses can help 10 more people each. So it's a sort of like I know it's a negative connotation.
Yeah, you don't want to say pyramid scheme, but yeah.
Yeah, it's a pyramid scheme where my $1 will trickle down instead of trickle up. Kalau pyramid kan trickle up, ini trickle down. We're talking about e-commerce. There's so many benefits there that they can help the UMKM industry, right? Tokopedia, for example, sources majority of their products only from local parties. Hence, it's local trading with local, thus truly building the economy. Another thing that we want to see is not only, e-commerce is booming, but at the same time, it's not really trickled down into the lower end of the markets, right? And what do we need in order to stimulate that? Something that we've seen so far is, fintech with the lending has helped that a lot. It allows the lower end of the markets to procure loans, productive loans, in order to build up their transactions, to be able to procure products from anywhere or to manufacture products and then later sell it on the e-commerce. The next step is, logistics, right? As everyone knows, the crucial aspects of e-commerce is, one of it is logistics in order to maintain good margin. So that's definitely a space that we're currently heavily looking into, those two spaces, fintech and logistics. How can we provide the capital for UMKM to grow? And how can we create a solid infrastructure for the UMKM to grow?
Ya kan mungkin kalau misalnya orang di daerah misalnya, mungkin kalau misalnya mereka mau melakukan suatu akses gitu ya, mungkin kan mereka harus melalui apps atau sebagainya, tapi melihat dari keterbatasan yang mereka yang daerah tersebut miliki gitu kan ya, mungkin kan masih agak perlu waktu gitu ya untuk mengembangkan kayak advanced system like clouds atau mungkin apps yang lebih advance gitu kan ya. Mungkin ada nggak suatu kayak sistem kayak probably some sort of apps gitu yang mungkin yang di-develop sama MDI or BUMN?
Yeah, that's a great question, right? To answer your question, I think it's very similar to for MDI and TELKOM doesn't really have an app or any direct initiative to target the consumers directly. I don't think we're in the best position to do so as well. For MDI specifically, we're fund managers. We're not startup innovators. What we do is we see the people who can create a change and we support them. We support the dream by providing capital with that dream to accomplish that dream. From Telkom side, they do have like the Telkomsel app or like the IndiHome app, or even Linkaja, for example, which is partly owned by Telkomsel. Those are definitely some apps that can help penetrate to the lower end of the market or to the UMKM sector, but it's a very small and minor part.
Okay.
When it comes to really developing an app or a solution that can really help UMKM from like maybe mom and pop stores is the best example, right? Very traditional folks. Right now, we've been seeing a lot of funding going into the Kasbon technology. Like, it's very weird, right? You'd be like, what the hell is Kasbon technology? Like, they don't have this in China. They don't have this in USA or in Europe or in any of the developed markets, right? This is a very localized to Southeast Asia, or specifically to Indonesia. India has something very similar, but for Indo, it's very specific, Kasbon, right? Which is like, the mom and pop stores, warung, or whoever it is, they just know this one person. Like, dia emang udah sering belanja sama saya, jadi saya kasih dia kredit atau utang, whatever they want to buy. Berapa nih? 10.000. Ya udah, nggak punya duitnya sekarang, minggu depan aja pas balik tinggal bayar. The issue is the way they record these micro debts is either diingetin doang or nyatet in some very old traditional logbook which is a complete mess, right? And all these guys are just creating an app that says like, hey, lo kan punya smartphone, right? Let me give you an app. It's a very simple app with the purpose of only noting down Kasbon. So you know exactly who it is that owes you money. And the function is simply a reminder. It's not a rocket science. It's like, so you basically made a notification app to remind mom and pop stores to collect on their debts. Yes, and it's an amazing app. Everyone is using it. It's like, okay, that is very interesting. That is very, very localized, right?
Kalau menurut lu sendiri gitu, menurut lo ini waktu yang bagus nggak kalau ada startup yang mau launching?
To launch, not sure, because with any other startup, you need some form of capital, right? And I'm pretty sure a lot of businesses, a lot of users are looking to adopt established products, specifically on the B2B side. When times are tough, you want to go for something that's more assured, right? So if you're a struggling startup, it is a good time because you've already had those years of development beforehand. You already have a CV lah. I've worked with this, I've worked with that. You can ask these guys what they think of my solution. You can ask these guys. But as a new player, it's very tough. It's like trusting your business to an infant, right? Like, I don't think that's something I would want to do as well. But with that being said, if you are thinking of creating a startup, maybe not this year. Hold off till next year, maybe when the market starts to recover a bit more. It is also a good time because a lot of the top performing startups in the country have been growing like crazy, right? That to the point where they're leaving everyone behind. Everyone is growing at maybe 10% per month, but these guys are growing at 100% per month. So you'll never be able to catch up with them. But because of COVID, they stopped, right? Their growth has plateaued, just that's it. Or maybe even slowed down a little bit. So for new startups or the underdogs, the gap has shrunk. Meaning before if you wanted to beat them, you might have needed $100 million of funding just in order to catch up to them. But now, 50 million, 20 million, there's a lot more room for competition now.
Well, that's good, right?
That's good. It's definitely good. We need more competition in the market in order for it to grow, right? And innovation grows through competition. It's who can find the best way, the most efficient way, the most effective way to solve a problem, right? And that's good for the economy. That's good for the market. But I wouldn't say you should start your business now, because for new products, adoption might be a bit lower. Also, tractions and GMV might be a bit lower. but just hold out. When the market does start to pick back up, I'm pretty sure you can. There's, it's easier for you to compete with the bigger folks than it was pre-COVID.
Oke deh, that comes to my next question. Kalau begitu, startup di sektor apa ya yang paling dibutuhkan untuk post-pandemic?
Oh, post-pandemic, one, I would say health.
Okay.
It's a no-brainer. Everyone will be very health conscious from ever since COVID hit, right? So health companies, health startups are definitely something that's going to be sought after. Other than that, fintech, I think, would be on the rise again. As the economy slowed down, everyone would be looking to kickstart things, right? Kickstart their businesses. A lot of businesses will need some small business loans, 1 month, 2 month loans, just to get things back up. So that's going to be a space that should be increasing as well. Other than that, education, I think, would be something that would be quite interesting to look at. COVID has really shown that you can learn effectively through digital means, through online means, right? I mean, maybe not as effective in terms of the quality of education, but how do you say it? How easy it is to learn, right? It's just a behavior that you need to create. You need to learn how to learn through digital means, because historically we've been learning from offline means, right? So yeah, another thing is that I think with the education market and education technology, COVID has proven that it is very easy to distribute education products, right? It is out there, but it's never been something that is sexy, right? It's like education has never been a sexy industry, but now it's one of the most sexiest industries that you can take a look at. I know a fact that most of the Indonesian edutech companies have been growing quite fast, and all across the world, revenue, tractions, growths are growing through the roof.
Oke, kalau misalnya di tengah-tengah pandemi ini, kira-kira kalau dari observation aja ya, di tengah-tengah pandemi gini, produk apa ya yang paling resilient? Dari fintech atau e-commerce atau apapun lah yang di startup.
The most resilient, I would have to say, is logistics is one of them.
Okay.
Specifically with 3PL, yeah. So it's last mile logistics. Other than that, it's e-commerce is definitely on the rise.
Okay.
Quite resilient. If you're not able to shop offline, you have to shop online.
Okay.
Tokopedia have increased their operations towards groceries, right? They're selling buah-buah, sayur-sayur through Tokopedia, which is like, wow, that's incredible. So those are some of the more resilient businesses. Communications technology. So it's more of right? For example, we're creating our interview through Google Meets. Zoom has been growing like crazy as well. We had a portfolio that creates communications platforms for enterprise services, for enterprise businesses, right? Based out of Australia. They went public last year, but ever since their IPO, their value has gone up by nearly 3x, two and a bit x, I would say. Within the span of 6 months, and this is a newly minted IPO company. So, yeah, communications tech is definitely something that's on the rise.
Alright, gotcha. Oke, terus Ventures sendiri kan baru mengantongi dana investasi senilai 500 juta US dollar ya untuk mendukung agenda transformasi BUMN. Kira-kira kriteria startup apa sih yang dipilih sama MDI lah untuk menerima dana investasi?
Well, first and foremost, it's definitely tech enabled or a tech kind of business, right?
Okay.
We're not looking to invest in traditional legacy business. We're trying to invest in companies that can grow and grow fast. Rata-rata in our current day and age, if you want to grow fast, you need to play tech. Tech is the future, as our previous CEO likes to say. Yeah, so tech is definitely the future. It allows you to grow, but we're also not looking for early stage companies. This is because of one of our mandates you got. With a $500 million fund, what we're looking for is not just to develop synergies and partnerships with TELKOM, but also with the rest of our BUMN ecosystem. Something that can really develop the economy or create an impact. And that is definitely something early stage startup cannot do.
Oke, just want to interject for it a little bit. Kayak misal contoh dari tech-enabled business apa ya? Mungkin bisa specifically, mungkin bisa dikasih contoh. Kira-kira apa gitu yang lagi menarik?
Sure. So, the best example I could give is with B2B again, right? Whether it's from the enterprise guys or from the mom and pop businesses. From enterprise levels, as I mentioned before, some of them just started adopting Microsoft Excel, right? Or they're using the likes of SAP and Oracle, a full-fledged system. Kadang-kadang their technology too, their digital infrastructure is about 20 years old, right? So if you take a US-based source code or whatever and try to implement it in Indonesia, it doesn't work. Because their program language and our program language, or their OS and our OS is quite different. They cannot really communicate with one another. And the data that they collect is too rich, right? In order for these developed market technologies to work, they need a rich set of data, which we don't have, right? So what we need to do first is, how can we collect data? And how can we collect rich sets of data? That's going to take time. We need everyone to be connected digitally in order for that to happen. So one of the solutions that we've seen is part of this tech-enabled is an O2O approach, online to offline.
Okay.
The mom and pops are a very clear example. A B2B to C approach is a very clear example as well. And another one is an agent-based model. One of our earlier investments that we made was in PayFast. They're very similar to Kudo. Whereas Kudo does, they have agents in order to sell e-commerce products, right? Physical products. But the way they sell it is through agents. So again, it's sort of like a multi-level marketing without the evil sense of it, right? Where essentially all you need is one tech-savvy individual within a community, right? And if this person is willing to learn how to use an app, they're able to deliver products and services to their entire community, whether it's 10 people or 100 people. That's all you need. You get one, you get 100. That's it.
Okay, so you're targeting community, yeah?
Yes, it's a community play. A lot of it, with Indo is community play. We're very community-centric kan.
That's true. Ya, kalau begitu kira-kira kalau misalnya if you can just put it in words gitu, kira-kira komunitas yang seperti apa gitu, yang influential kepada berapa banyak masa mungkin, kayak gimana? Kayak gitu ya kira-kira ya.
Something like that. But again, with every product, with every service that you're offering, it requires a different sort of community archetype, right? For example,
kalau misalnya aku mau tanya nih, misalnya kita punya apps yang untuk lebih untuk fishery gitu ya, kan obviously kan mungkin kan target marketnya kan mungkin lebih ke orang yang mungkin ada berhubungan sama nelayan gitu. Jadi kalau begitu komunitas apa yang harus kita approach gitu? Apakah komunitas nelayannya itu kah, atau komunitas yang mungkin penjual ikannya, atau ada individual gitu yang harus di approach untuk bisa nge-cover itu?
So for fisheries, that's a huge supply chain juga kan. You have the farmers who create the supply, you have the distributors, and you have the buyers, and then you have the import and exporters juga. So it depends on which segment you want to target. Let's say with farmers, what we've seen is that a lot of farmers, a lot of farms are owned by big businesses or big entities, right? So the individual farmers themselves don't actually own the land. So who you might want to target is actually these big farmers, right? In order to introduce new technologies to them. Or the flip side is also you can target these individual small farmers, right? That own their land. Kadang-kadang they're more, not all of them, but they might be more willing to adopt new products in order to stay competitive. Who you're also targeting might actually be the newer generation, right? So not the farmers themselves, but the farmers' kids, who are in their 20s or so and are looking to start, be more active with the family business per se. And I think that works across all business juga, when it comes to family business, from the big conglomerates to small UMKM to farmers themselves, right? And all you really need is just one person in the community within a geographic area to adopt this new technology or to adopt this innovation, and they become your spokesperson, your brand ambassador. So a lot of a startup's resources would actually have to flow towards developing these brand ambassadors and these spokespersons, right? Daripada kita ajarin the entire farming industry, let's just get one person out of 100.
Like an influencer.
Exactly, like an influencer for farmers, right? And like, hey, I've got this new IoT technology that can ensure that panan kita for this batch will not die, or a 90% success rate, and the quality is assured 90%. Everyone would be like, nggak percaya lah. It's never going to happen. I've been learning this from my dad, from my granddad. This is in my blood. I know when the water quality is good or the water quality is not good. No technology can is better than me. I'm the best out here. But yeah, and then all these new guys can just show like, hey, actually these technologies do help.
Okay. Jadi kalau begitu, kalau misalnya kita cari misalnya satu orang kayak gitu ya, soalnya untuk menambahkan dari apa yang udah ditambahnya. Jadi misalnya kita cari satu orang, terus misalnya let's say the business grows gitu. With that man gitu, yang satu orang itu yang kita pilih jadi let's say influencer kayak gitu.
Yeah.
Bukannya dia bakal sooner or later dia bakal jadi some sort of authority over all these people.
Yes, in a way, yes. If it's more like a traditional MLM model, right? Because the traditional MLM model is, your downstream, you control your downstream, and then if you move somewhere else, then your downstream follows you as well. But that's because, the top agent recruits the bottom agent, who recruits and recruits and recruits and recruits. That's traditional MLM. With tech, you don't have to do that. You don't need all those layers, because the digital world allows you to go direct, right? Sure, you can have these guys as the influencer to build up the ecosystem, but you're not going to be dependent on them. Of course, that might not be a very positive thing for the influencer themselves, but the influencer also has to see that, hey, without these apps, without these innovations, you would not have been able to, increase or step up your livelihood juga. You would not been able to increase your earnings without these apps. So it's more of like a give and take, right? A sharing economy. If you grow, everyone else grows. Let's not be greedy and try to take the entire pie. If we all just share a piece of our pie around, it's going to be better for everyone.
So, last question. One last question. Let's say if the influencer did not perform, atau misal let's say lah, seburuk-buruknya, probably dia cheating lah gitu. Would there be consequences for him or her from you guys gitu? Yes, yeah. Okay.
Of course. There are ways to get around that, right? Traditionally, without technology, without the ability to hold folks accountable, you can't really enforce any actions, or like misalnya kick them out of the platform. But through all these digital methods, it makes it very difficult for you to cheat the system, right? If
Yeah.
all transactions are happening online, there's 100% traceability, right?
Okay.
Of course, there's going to be some frauds, or someone tries to cheat the system. That's expected, right? But as long as we keep it in a healthy margin, like let's say 2% of our transactions are actually not fictitious, but somewhat fraudulent. They might have marked up the price or marked down the price, or maybe pas ada cash transaction, they take skim a piece off the top. It's fine, that's expected. We might not have the capabilities to detect that now, but we will in the future. And we're focusing on the 98% rather than the 2%, right? So that's definitely one way. On top of that, these digital innovations and these sort of O2O community applications really shift the balance of power across everyone in the community, not just one person, right? Of course, this one individual can have a network of 100 users or 100 customers below them. But
That's
if
right.
one of those customers wants to become an agent, for example, they can as well, right? Hence, the power is sort of shifted, and it's so easy to become an agent. That you're competing with so many people. Mungkin today you're the only agent in your town, but next month there might be 2. The month after there might be 3. The month after there might be 4. So that's where it sort of alleviates the risk of power falling to one person. Right?